it's like there's actually consequences, whether it's in the spiritual realm or the physical realm.
Yeah.
We don't know which one it's going to be, but there's going to be good consequences or bad consequences
Yeah.
for every word we speak.
Right. Yeah.
That's why James
Consequences.
chapter 3 exists in the Bible.
Yeah. Consequences aren't always a negative thing. We think of that word and it's like the negative side of a consequence. But speaking things of life, words of wisdom, speaking things that are kind and compassionate, those things have consequences as well, but they're always good things, not things that are bad.
Yeah, you're softening the heart and hardening ourselves towards evil, towards the negative things, towards the things of death.
So once again, words are powerful. They're very powerful. The other one that I had you read there, Amy, Proverbs 25:11. This is one I ran across when I was a brand new Christian, and I thought, well, that sounds kind of weird. Why did they word it that way? Because it said a word fitly spoken or a word rightly spoken in some of the older translations. And the one that I was reading, it says a word spoken at the right time. So you get the idea. And then it says it's like apples of gold in a silver tray or a silver basket. It's like, I don't know about you guys, but no one's ever handed me a silver basket with apples in it. So the analogy kind of falls flat. But if you roll back quite a few years when this was actually written, if somebody handed you apples of gold, that's a lot of gold, in a silver basket or a silver tray, not one painted silver, one made out of silver. What they're handing you is insanely valuable. I mean, that's like an absolute fortune there. So the whole idea is the value and the power of our words. So that's what I wanted to pull out to get our conversation going today.
Yeah, it really is an interesting analogy that it has going there, because when I think of apples, I think of fruit. I don't think of round objects of gold. And so it's kind of funny, when we were talking about this in prep about the absolute value and the worth of that. But an apple, to somebody who's starving, crunching into something that is sweet and juicy, it's very tangible as well. And so having a bowl full of those apples could be very valuable to somebody who doesn't have anything. And when you think of words, and especially words that are spoken in anger or words that are harsh, if you're always used to hearing harshness and somebody comes and speaks kindness to you, it would be a very valuable gift that's being given to you.
Yeah, so when we move forward into actually applying this stuff, just keep those two thoughts in mind, power and value. Every word that you speak has power one way or the other, and it has value one way or the other.
And it is leverage. The way that those words are used, it is a very leveraged thing, whether you're speaking something over somebody that is going to produce words of life and love or something that's just going to tear them down.
Yeah, so let's clarify what we're talking about when we say leverage here, because as I mentioned in our conversation last week, leverage can imply, some sort of power you have over somebody to make them do something that they don't want to do. Like you got something holding over their head and you can force them to do X, Y, or Z. That's not what we're talking about. We're just using the idea that leverage communicates, where a little bit of input produces a disproportionately large outcome. Okay, so I used a mechanical example last week. I'll give it to you again. If you got a 200-pound boulder to move, you're probably not going to get much accomplished if you're just trying to push it with your hands. Now, maybe you're big and strong, more than me, and you can do that. I think I would break something if I tried to pick up a 200-pound boulder. Just wouldn't work. But if I can get a pry bar and put it up against something behind the boulder and then pull down like on a 6 or 8 foot pry bar, then I can put a little bit of effort into it, relatively speaking, and I can move that 200-pound boulder quite easily. That's the whole idea of leverage. It's a little bit of input, disproportionately large output. Now, if you bring that into the personal sphere, our personal relationships, think of this. You have a 14-year-old daughter, and she gets a brand new dress because she's going to wear it to her first dance. Now, 14 years old, if you know anything about 14-year-old girls, there's a lot going on inside of their head. So when she walks out and says, "Daddy, how do I look?" in the split second that follows, she's feeling very vulnerable. Her self-image and her self-esteem is kind of on the table. And how you respond in those next seconds is going to have a big impact, not only on how she feels about herself that night, but how she feels as she moves forward in life. So she comes out and says, "Daddy, how do I look?" And, your jaw drops and you just say, "Beautiful." That is a huge investment. You send her self-esteem to the moon. She walks out of your house with confidence that night and has a good time.
And it opens the door for her to come back to you in the future because you chose to respond in a way that was positive and built her up.
Yeah, that's a leveraged moment. One word, beautiful. Or, "Oh, honey, you look absolutely gorgeous." One little comment, huge input or
Mhm.
huge output.